Hi, I'm Scott Humphrey with the World Floor Covering Association, and this is Leadership Live. This week on the lead story, I want to share with you a contrast in leadership between two very famous explorers from the early 1900s. One of them you may have heard of. His name is Ernest Shackleton. Shackleton set out with a group of 27 men and a stowaway, wanted to be the first person to reach the South Pole and cross over Antarctica to the other side. He had another ship that would come around from the other side and lay supplies about halfway from the pole to the coast. And yet that never happened because Shackleton never reached the coast. His ship got stuck in ice with he and 27 other men. And the story of survival is an amazing, amazing story. It happened in 1914. They took off from Chile. They got bound before they got to the coastline in severe ice. He was told not to go. He went anyway. It's an ironic story because in 1913, a year prior, an explorer by the name of Vilhelm Stephenson did almost the same identical thing going to the Arctic, not the Antarctic, but to the North Pole. He was going for Canada to see if there were other lands up there, other continents to be discovered and claimed. And yet he had the same problem. 25 people counting him on his ship, and they too got stuck in the ice. Both the North and South Pole that year had an enormous amount of ice that they had to maneuver around, and both of them got stuck. But the contrast in what happened after that is dramatic. See, if you would ask people that went with Stephenson, they would tell you that he was focused on the expedition itself. That's all that mattered, that the people were expendable, but not for Shackleton. Shackleton set out to model and live leadership. He did not reach his primary goal, so from that standpoint, he was a failure. But in survival, he was a success because over a period of almost 2 years, all 28 of those men survived. Not the same for the expedition that went north under Stephenson. 25 people went, 11 of them died because in the midst of that, when the ship got stuck, Stephenson left the party. He left the ship, said he was going off to hunt caribou, but he never came back. Now, supposedly the ice floe broke and the ship wandered away and they just weren't able to reconnect. And it may be what happened. But the question about whether he should have left or not really is central to the story. So there are key elements. I encourage you to look into this. The Shackleton trip was the Endurance. The Stephenson ship was the Carluck. Two amazing stories. But the fact that they happened, they even knew each other. Their styles of leadership were so different. In fact, Shackleton had every man keep a journal, and every one of those men remarked at his optimism and the fact that he never gave up on the fact that they would all survive. Stephenson, when the going got rough, he couldn't stand to be landlocked, and he just left. Shackleton's people said he was all about them. His whole goal, after he realized he wouldn't be successful in the expedition, was their survival. Stephenson had an opportunity to go back, and yet he focused on the expedition and expected the captain he had left on the ship to lead them to safety. One modeled leadership and one left the opportunity to lead. One was about survival, which became the ultimate goal. One led to the death of almost half of the crew. It's an amazing story. I encourage you to look at it. And I say all that to say this. Your actions matter as a leader. Take this story, research it, read it, but apply it to your life and say, am I in the fight with my people? Am I by their side? Am I helping them fulfill their purpose and reach their goal? It's an amazing story. But so is yours. So go out there and live the story that you want other people to tell.